Hello and welcome everyone back to another brand new video. Now, in the last 48 hours, we've gained a lot of very valuable information on the upcoming Milestone titles. We're going to start off with Motogp 23. On the 12th of April, which is yesterday at the time of recording, there was a Q&A in Milestone's GP Discord. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it or listen in live as I was just finishing work up, but thankfully in their Discord there was a post put out by KG, I'd know him as Conrad. He has basically summarized pretty much everything that was of importance, so shout out to him for really making it easy for people who did miss it to kind of catch up on what was asked and what the answers were really. So I'm going to run through the ones I've noted to be important. I have 13 in front of me, and after that we'll talk a small bit about Ride 5, but we're going to start off with point number 1. AI is improved, which is pretty standard, will be more balanced, and the AI is trained to enter the pits in change of weather. So probably the big thing people want to know when we heard rumours that Flag to Flag would be in the game was, would the AI actually come into the pits and make a bike swap? And now we saw in the trailer kind of small hints at them coming into the pit one by one, but they look quite it looked very kind of early stages because it didn't look natural. It looked very forced, but it is confirmed that they will be coming into the pits of their own accord and changing. So hopefully it is a bit of a variable in such that, like real life, not all 20 riders come in on the exact same lap. If you think back to any Flag to Flag, the key is getting it right. Marquez has been brilliant at it for years. Many people have got it wrong so many times. Potentially cost Rossi a title in 2015 when he got it wrong in Misano after Lorenzo crashed. Big chunk of points thrown away that day. Everyone talks about the Rossi Marquez incident in Sepang for that year that cost him the title. My opinion was Misano. He threw away so many points by basically staying out too many laps. But back on topic, it's good to see that they will be coming to their pits of their own accord, but hopefully it's a little bit randomised, that they're not all going to come in on the one lap, because it can be a bit unrealistic if all 19 riders pile in and you're rider number 20 and you roll in 2 laps later and it's like, oh well, I got it wrong, but yeah, I know every lap how to come in and stuff like that. Second up, there will be a second bike in which in free practice can be paired for wet weather or dry weather. You can apply a different setup for that one. So I'd imagine if it is a practice or qualifying session and you're in mixed conditions, you can have a second bike prepped, ready to go, in case that it either starts raining or starts to dry up that you need a dry setup. So again, kind of you would expect it to be there, but again, it's good to be confirmed that it's there, just to really kind of polish off the whole new aspect of the Flag to Flag. Point number 3, dynamic weather will be in multiplayer. Now, unfortunately, due to technical limitations, Nintendo Switch will have a fast start procedure for the Motogp class instead of Flag to Flag. Unfortunately, the handheld consoles is just not power enough and just really doesn't have the overall capacity to run such high kind of limits of the game. So unfortunately, they will be limited to a fast start procedure. So that will be pretty much their Flag to Flag. Moving on, there will be the possibility to the Brad Binder kind of Austria race where he stayed on slicks. So it will be good to see that the game's not going to force you to pit, or it's not going to tell you when to come in. It'll be up to you. It probably will say pit lane open, or you'll see a flag and then you get the notification that it's open. So it's good to see that the game is giving you some leeway. I'd imagine it's a bit like Ride 4's endurance system, which was quite good, and a lot of people wondered why, if they could get it in Ride 4, they couldn't do it in GP, but it's probably licensing, get it in game. It can be quite messy in Ride 4 if it wanted to be, whereas it has to be pretty nailed down and accurate to represent the modern day GP, but it's good to see that it is possible. Race Director Mode will be available shortly after the day 1 release, so as always, it'll be added in a free update probably 2 or 3 days after, so nothing too major about that. That's pretty standard for most years. In career, reaction to other riders and how you interact with them on social media can improve or basically lower your relationship with other riders. Depending on how you get on with certain riders, they will be less or more aggressive on track with you. So like I mentioned in a previous video, I was hoping this would be a thing that we'll say you fall out with Fabio Quartararo, he's more aggressive with you on track. That'd be a really good feature, and it looks like that is what they're going for. I'm really hoping it works as they do intend it, because that would be a pretty Pretty good for cream mode. It would be really good to spice it up to keep it interesting, but it's good to see that they haven't just put in a social media aspect and like a slider, and you're like, oh well, he's not really good friends with Fabio, but he's good friends with Pecco. It seems like it might actually have a bit of depth to it, which is good. Ranked races will be based on player leaderboard status, so other raiders can race with people same level. Now this in theory will work very well if we have the player base. Xbox and PlayStation being cross-platform to each other is good. This will probably work better there, but the PC players, we got massively left out in GP22 with no cross-play to console, so we might have an issue of not enough players for this to work. This is brilliant in games where you have slightly more players, so you can keep each other in around what your actual level is. But if there's only, we'll say 150 players, to make up a full lobby, sometimes you're going to have to just throw everyone in together. So again, it's good that you've tried it. Let's hope we have the player base for it. If they have the player base, it should work as intended. So enough said about that. Physics, there are improvements made to the gyroscopic forces calculation and the tire contact patch. I've read a bit more on the physics side. That is probably for another video as we learn more, but it's good to see that they're focusing on some real life physics to actually make the bikes better in game. So hopefully they overall improve the feel of the bikes. The way they've gone the last 2 to 3 years have been really not the way I like it. So really hoping that the physics make a big step this year, but it's good to note that they've at least and kind of accommodated some changes with the gyroscopic forces and stuff like that. So usually the gyroscopic force will be the change of directionals where you'll feel that most. The bike will want to go straight. It's that kind of force that it's really physical to change direction at high speed. If they've gotten that calculation wrong, it probably was too slow all along. It feels really heavy compared to the older in-house engine and of course GP bikes and other games out there. Dynamic weather will not only be dry to wet but also wet to dry, so you could start off with a full wet race and it could dry up. You come in for dry tires. Brno 2016 I want to say, was that a full one? Was that one, or was it Marquez, or was it 17? I know Marquez had a win in one of them where he came in. Remember, he dropped at the back of the field, made it look like he was struggling, and jumped in to get on dry tires. I believe that was a wet one to dry one. So it's good to see that it seems to be they're going about it the right way. They're not kind of just going, well, we only have it one way, the AI don't do it properly, but you have to do it on your own. So it looks like they're going about it the right way with this dynamic weather system. I'm looking forward to this, I must say. Moto 3 and Moto 2 will have a fast restart procedure in case of weather change. So obviously in the lower categories there isn't a flag to flag, so they will have the real life kind of procedure that we get in the real life series, so it won't actually be too unrealistic for the lower categories, which is good. So we will see a change of weather even in the lower categories, which will be interesting. It's good to see that they weren't kind of just forgotten about and the mode was kind of turned off for them. It's good to see that they were also acknowledged that. It feels like more of an immersion, like when you get things like this. If they were to take it completely out of Moto 3 and Moto 2, it would just break the immersion knowing that you're not going to get a change of weather at some point. Now that possibility is there, massive props to them, because that will just keep you on your toes. 2 new tracks, SoCal and Buddha, will be in the game. So again, you're talking about 2 new tracks that we pretty much were guaranteed to get, but it's good to get confirmation that we're going to get these tracks. All along people have been saying that we mightn't get them at release, but like, you should really have them released, and I'm looking forward to trying out both tracks. I've ridden Bud before, I haven't ridden the SoCal track before, but it will be interesting to see new tracks in the game. I think the last time we got new tracks would have been probably Mandalika in the start of GP22, and then we had the Kimi Ring, which was a massive flop since we never raced there. But yeah, it's good to see that the 2 new tracks that we'll be going to in this season are actually on the calendar, even if we don't go there in real life, like Kimi Ring. Now, second last point is about the asymmetric tires will be in the game. This will be made as real life. So an asymmetric tire is a tire that has 2 compounds of rubber on either side. So we will talk about Saxonry. You have 1 million left-handers and only 3 rights, I believe, which means you need a much softer rubber on the right side of the tire. Basically, the right side of the tire just doesn't go through the the motions and doesn't get as much heat in it. When you mean softer rubber, keeps more heat, gets up to temperature faster, and is also a bit more grippy. So you won't use it as much, it won't wear as fast, but it'll also stay in the working window for longer of the race. Brought into the game from 23 onwards. Now, I can't ever say I've been going, oh my god, I really wish I had an asymmetric front in that race. That really would have given me an extra bit of speed. But I remember in GP21, which I played a lot, there was tracks where you would burn out one side of your tyre a lot more. So it's probably going to balance it out a bit better. You're not going to notice huge differences. So it's a small change to make it more realistic and more true to life. But it's not going to revolutionise the game. But again, props to Milestone for bringing in a feature that was requested for a couple of years. Final point of today, 13. Sprint races will be in the game from launch. So, of course, we got sprint races. We've had 2 now in real life and 2 full feature-length races. So, for me, pretty standard to be expected. But, again, it's just nice to have them confirmed that they'll be there from launch. So, we'll have them in career. But now, of course, they'll only be in the GP class like real life. So, no sprint races in Moto 3 and Moto 2. But, like I said, it'll be great to get into career mode and actually try these out. Now, I'd like to know your feedback on these before we get into the ride topics. Now, of course, I might have missed a few. Of course, I'm coming from someone else's point of view with the comments. So let me know in the comments down below if you think I've missed anything, if there's anything that caught your eye, if you've noticed anything that they said that might be hinting towards something else. I'd love to know, get a discussion going in the comments about all these and just what you think of Milestone kind of being a lot more open, giving us a Q&A. This is the first time they've ever done it. It looks like, to be honest, in the community it's gone down quite well. People seem pretty happy that they've been pretty open, and that is a lot of information we just covered there. And I must say, pretty much hats off to them for going into this much detail and giving us this much information a couple of months out from its release. But for now, we're going to park Motogp 23. We're going to come forward about probably 17 hours after the Q&A, and we got pinged in the Motogp Discord. It was a brand new Discord made by Milestone called Ride 5. Yes, we're finally getting Ride 5. Now we're going to jump over to the website and read through a small bit about it, and we'll just have a small discussion of what is to come in their latest edition. So we're just going to start off by watching through the trailer. I'm just going to leave it play in the background. I won't say anything over it, and I will just talk about it quickly after. So I'll just leave that play and we'll go from there.
All humans are created equal, except people like them. No matter where they're racing, no matter what they're facing, always fearless. Humans are equal, except for those who feel the need to prevail. No matter the rivals, no matter how long it will take, humans are equal. Bikers are not. Race. Anytime, anywhere. Welcome to Ride 5, Beyond Racing.
So we got our first release date. It is the 24th of the 8th, 2023. So 24th of August. So we're quite a bit away yet. We'll have plenty more information drip fed to us over the coming months. But for now, the only bit of information on the website is this. Ride 5 will make your heart race at full speed. Since day one, the history of Ride franchise has been one of a kind. Not many people know this, but the decision to launch the series not made as usually happens with a specific marketing goal. It was developers themselves who pushed our management to create a game that could embrace the passion for motorcycle in the purest form. The Ride franchise is the glaring result of the riding spirit that drives Milestone. So we're just getting pretty much a backstory to what has come in the previous 7 years or 8 years that Milestone have been making the Ride series. But to carry on, 7 years, so 7 years since the first one, 7 years after the first chapter, Ride 5 promises to go beyond racing. Fans have always appreciated the variety of bikes and tracks, as well as the lifelike graphics, but this time we wanted to make it more personal. Ride 5 will thus immerse players in a comprehensive world where they will live their own riding journey. Now, they say world, well, I mean, it could be open world, maybe. Just a bit of wording. Now, again, maybe I'm looking into too much, but it's just a good part to know. Maybe it could be open world. Where did I stop? No riding journey, as they would if they could travel the world to race the best location with their dream bikes. For the first time in the series, they will face recurrent riders with specific backgrounds. They will have a dedicated headquarter with mechanics and equipment. So that looks like maybe they've gone down the route of Rims Racing, where they'll have a dedicated mechanic and equipment. Interesting approach, I like it. And there will even be a photographer ready to capture the best moments. Now that is pretty good. We did get to see her, I believe, in the trailer out in a t-shirt with a hat on her in the pissing rain, but I won't question her. She seems a bit mad. But that would be pretty cool that after races we get like screenshots like this from our race and like P1 or whatever. Like if you cast your minds back to GP13 where you had that like newspaper article, you had pictures of yourself from the race. It was all pretty interesting. So good to see some new features being added. Also, as the first new gen only Miles game, that pretty much confirms Unreal Engine 5 to me. The fact it's new gen only, so Xbox Series X, PS5 and PC. Ride 5 relies on cutting edge technology to make the gaming experience even more realistic. This will particularly event when looking at the skies. Okay, interesting. In GP22, they brought in a dynamic cloud system where clouds would move around the track and cast shadows. It worked really well. It was one of those things I mentioned in my first playthrough, and I was kind of like, well, I'll probably be one of those things where you notice when you play a game for the first time, but after like a week or two, you'll forget. Up until the very last time I played GP22, I actually always noticed that when the track would just go grey for no reason when the clouds would actually roll in. It was quite an interesting thing, and I really enjoyed it because it felt like just a live environment that you're racing in. So again, if they're kind of going at the skies again with this, there could even be more to come in Ride 5, which are now based on 3D procedural clouds to offer players the most breathtaking views. Leaning into a turn facing the sun has never been so majestic and realistic. We also have implemented a dynamic weather system. So again, this is kind of coming over from Ride 4, having the mixed conditions to generate realistic weather changes during the race, thus adding strategic dimension to your racing experience. They finish off by saying, as thrilling as they are, such features are not even the thing I am most proud of. Wonder who wrote that. Indeed, our fans have always been very demanding, clearly, and making their desires heard. We have a hardcore community that seeks the same excitement they got on a real motorcycle. Riding a bike is the essence of freedom, adrenaline and audacity. Emotions, to put it simply. Emotions are what Ride 5 is committing to deliver. Regardless of their initial level, everybody will be able to unleash their love for two wheels, no barriers, and an enhanced set of riding aids will ease the learning curve with a new Race Creator feature will allow the creation of unlimited customized racing scenarios. Ooh, so we have a new kind of Race Creator, I'd say game mode probably. That's quite interesting, the Race Creator. I like the sounds of that. If we can play that online, that could be quite fun. I hope we can have like multi-class races though, because we've always kind of had thoughts of having like multi-class racing. That would be quite fun if you could do that in this Race Creator mode. Sounds pretty good. Lots of bikes have been dreamed of racing on the bikes we've already seen on TV. Perhaps the historic races like the Suzuka 8-hour or the Ball Door. Interesting, they mention actual endurance races, so that's pretty cool. So maybe they've gotten some sort of endurance license going forward for this. Maybe. Could be looking into it too much again. Now it's time to fasten your helmet and live the most authentic riding simulation ever. So that is pretty much all we have on Senior Ride 5. Interestingly enough, they've announced they've kind of put all their eggs in one basket, pardon the pun, Easter just around the corner, that they are putting everything out within essentially 20 hours of each other. So lots of information here. Again, a lot of it is kind of PR bull, but you still get you get the photographer, you get some small bits here and there, like that Race Creator mode, and they throw in little snippets of like the Suzuka 8-hour, so they maybe have some licensing. So again, reading between the lines, which you kind of have to do with these press releases. Not too bad so far. I'm quite happy we just got the announcement trailer, reading that, and it's confirmed, because for such a long time now people have been banging the drum to know when Ride 5 was coming, if it was coming. I like this bit here, to be honest, at the start, where they talk about how the Ride franchise came about. It's nice to get a bit of inside knowledge and a bit of history on it. I loved Ride 4 when it first came out. Physics were really fun, really enjoyable. Probably the best ever on a Milestone game. Definitely the best ever on an Unreal Engine Milestone game. As they patched them, they made them really annoying as the game went on. I never really liked the rider positioning on it. I always felt like the rider was out of sync with the bike, that as you change direction he'd move his hips before his body. It was a weird twisted style. If we watch back the trailer, there's just some points where they kind of do it. If I can capture it here now before we end off today's video, as I know it's been a long one. Come on, watch now, they won't show it. Onboard. So okay, we'll go to half speed. Can we do playback speed? 0.25. Just move back slowly. So watch the way, see the way his shoulders, watch his shoulders go and then his head follows. It's not really as apparent here because it's a replay camera that kind of moves around, but for now I hope that's kind of removed and they go back to a more traditional rider style that we saw in previous, where the kind of rider moves a bit more fluidly. But for now, I think today's video has gone on long enough. Between the GP23 news and the Ride 5 news, finally we're getting somewhere on the Milestone front. But I'm going to end it there. Please let me know your feedback in the comment of what you think about, of course, what we said at the start of the video in Motogp 23. And of course what we said in the latter part about the Ride 5 initial release date and all that kind of crack. So a lot of information to soak up and to absorb, so I'm pretty excited going forward to really see what we get out of these games. But I'm going to end it here. I've rambled on for far too long, so I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and I shall see you in the next video. See you soon. Bye bye.